Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Java with Jen and Jess. I am Jennifer Fernandez, branch manager and realtor with the Property Pros Real Estate.
And I am Jessica Sherrill, senior loan officer with Freedom Mortgage. And we're here to bring you the community and keep it real in real estate. So we're excited about our show today. Jen, what do you got?
Yes, today we'll be discussing a topic that's very intriguing to the both of us, emotional intelligence. With us today is Stacy McKay, who's a certified relational wisdom instructor and conflict coach. She will be discussing the 5 components of emotional intelligence. What does it mean to be emotionally intelligent, and how can one become more emotionally intelligent? As we all know, relationships is everything in life. But first, let's get into our small business spotlight.
Yes, excited about the show. Cannot wait for that topic. And first, we are going to have a small business spotlight to feature a local and wonderful photographer and his assistant, Rick Tocida and Lucille Zaccardo. So excited to see you both. And you're with Rick Visuals. So have some great questions for you. So excited to have you on the Java with Jen and Jess show. So thank you so much for coming. So tell me about you both and how you got into photography first.
Well, good morning to you, Jen and Jessica, and to your audience. We've been working together probably 2 years now. Mm-hmm. But to go back further, I started in photography. Even before that, I had a 25-year career with the Postal Service. I was in the distribution and marketing side as well. And back in 2000, my wife and I, we went to Australia, and I went there with a little yellow Instamatic Kodak throwaway camera. You remember those things? And so here I was in the rainforest, and there was a bunch of tourists with us, and you had these Asian tourists as well next to me. And they had these gigantic cameras with gigantic lens. And, I'm looking around. I take out my little camera, and I was so embarrassed. I thought, here you are all the way across the world with this little throwaway yellow camera. And the images were horrible. And at that point, I think I got the seed to start photography. And when I got back to the United States, I bought my digital camera, which is like 2 megapixels. It was huge then. And that's what started it. My brother and my dad also was into photography, but I never took an interest because it was all, dark room and chemical, and the smell turned me off. But when I found digital, that started it. And I started doing baptisms, small weddings, and family gatherings. And I started using it for a company called Valpak that I did some work with. And I did all their corporate events when they went traveling to conventions, and I got better and better at it. And finally, in 2013, I went full time, and I haven't looked back since. So
that's excellent.
2018 was.
Wow, so what a story! That is a pivotal moment across the world, and you're using an instant camera, and it just changes your whole entire trajectory. That's an awesome story. So tell me, with your photography, what kind of photography do you guys do? What do you focus on?
Well, there's so many different genres of photography. There's food photography, there's real estate, there's commercial, there's fashion, there's wedding, there's, travel photography, there's art photography, there's sports photography. There's so many genres of photography. What we focus on is more like corporate branding, where we'll do headshots for a company. We have several clients in the Tampa Bay area. When they have new employees, they'll call us. We'll go in and photograph a whole group of new employees. Also, we'll do a lot of, for web, people who are creating websites. They're looking for new content, or their clients have need for, kind of like a lifestyle, social media type of photography. We'll go in and do that. So we also do corporate events, which came to a screeching halt in March when the COVID pandemic began. In fact, our last corporate event was in Orlando. We had a convention of about 2,000 people, and we were there for 4 days shooting that convention. So that was a kind of, it was a nice event. But 80% of our business is events. So we,
Excellent.
yeah.
So as far as you mentioned the COVID situation. So how are you, what does that business look like? I know, with social distancing and photography, how do you work that?
Well, again, in March and April, we were like nothing, dead still, nothing. So, we used it to reset ourselves, basically, to go online, take some courses. We still went on and still do some photography just to stay in the groove kind of thing.
Right.
But it's coming back. Just yesterday, we booked a corporate branding for a financial company. There's another financial company that called me. We'll be doing short videos and photography with them up in Pasco. And a bunch of little headshots are coming in, people wanting headshots.
Well, I can speak to that actually, because you did my headshots and they were amazing. So thank you so much for.
How long ago?
I'm sorry?
How long ago was that? I can't remember.
That was a couple years ago. I need to get those refreshed actually. But so tell me, let me ask you something. So do you do video? Do you use a drone? Tell us about that.
Right now, I don't have a demand for drones, so the prices keep dropping on drones. So I haven't bit the bullet and bought one. I have access to drones through my photography colleagues, but really, it's not really a demand right now. So we're keeping it, whatever the client needs. So we do a lot of on-site photography, and so that's right now isn't as far as video. We do short videos. We don't do the long presentation videos where someone's giving a talk or something like that. We've done it in the past. It just doesn't presents itself, a lot. But a lot of people are looking for small video clips, a little B-roll for their website and stuff like that. So that we can accommodate.
That'll be good. We have, with our real estate community that we have watching and that we're connected to, I definitely know that that's a trend right now with people trying to get their brand out. So whoever is watching right now, definitely, give Rick or Lucille a call and get those sessions booked because he's extremely talented and he does a really great job. So as far as tell us about your business of photography and, what does that look like? If anyone wants to get into photography, what does that look like?
If somebody wants to actually become a photographer, I would tell them to think twice because it's a tough business. It's very competitive. The trick for me and for Lucille is that you got to get in front of the decision maker.
Yeah.
And that means networking, going into groups, whether it's BNI or MGM Friends or just business networking events throughout the Tampa Bay. You have to get your feet on the street and be in front of the buyer. It's just that simple. And a lot of people don't feel comfortable going to a networking group. I like going with Lucille because then we can mingle with different kinds of people, But a lot of things, another thing that works for me is that we'll do nonprofit events. And at those events, whether they're fundraisers or there's a flow of people. And that's the trick. You got to get in front of the buyer. And sitting in front of a social media, Facebook and Twitter, that's fine. That works. But you also have to augment it with going out and meeting face-to-face people and getting them to know you. So,
well, we know all about that, don't we, Jen?
Absolutely, 100%. Well, I definitely need some new headshots, but Rick, are you good with Photoshop?
Yes, I am. In fact, I tell my photograph that I'm a digital dermatologist.
There you go. I love it.
If you have dark circles like me, I will take care of that. And it's
let's get it on the calendar. Let's get that booked.
It's part of the package, By the way, Lucille is an excellent photographer also. She went to the New York Photography School up in New York, and I graduated from there. And she's an excellent photographer. She's good at posing. She's good with the ladies, and that's where we complement each other. So it's great.
Great.
That's a great
well,
team.
If somebody's ready to go ahead and book a session with you, how would they get in contact with you guys?
Usually you can send to my Gmail account. We both work together. It's or go to my website, rickvisuals.com, and there's my phone number on the screen as well. Contact me, and we'll set it up. We'll talk to you before we actually do the photo shoot. We'll have a phone conversation, or we'll meet somewhere, or do a Zoom and discuss your needs, and then what to expect, and then we take it from there. In fact, we just had one of your colleagues, Zuli. I did her headshots.
Sure did. It was she was beautiful, and I can speak for your talent. You definitely did wonders for me. So thank you so much for coming on our show. We really appreciate both of you. We have a huge respect, and we honor our small businesses and our artists out there that are grinding the streets just like us. So thank you for everything that you do.
Yeah, thank you. Nice meeting you both.
You too, Jennifer. Bye-bye. Thanks, Jessica.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye. All right. Now we are going to bring on Miss Stacy McKay. Good morning.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
No, thank you. We are excited, so excited for this topic. It's something that we both have been intrigued about and just eager to learn more and just dive right on into it.
Perfect.
So, Stacy, why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit about you, your background, and how you got into this field?
Okay. So
tell us a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today, too.
Perfect. Well, and I'm actually going to date myself here a little bit. Y'all are going to figure out my age real quick and know that I'm going to probably need some of that digital dermatology my age. So I might have to call Rick when I'm down in the Tampa area, get some new headshots. But I've actually been in the real estate profession since I was 20 years of age, like legally licensed since 20. But my mom was a real estate agent from the time I was 13. And back in the day when we didn't have computers, so that's where I'm dating myself here, I used to be her researcher in the multiple listing book back in my high school years. She would say, I need a 3-2 in Castleberry in this price range. And I'd go through the book and I would locate properties for her. So I've always had a love for real estate going even back before when I became licensed. By the time I was 6 years into the industry, I'm mainly working with buyers, a heavy buyer agent, obviously being at a young age. All my friends, as they began to finish school, get married, I was helping everyone to purchase their homes. And at 26, I started my own real estate company. And since that time, over the last 25 years, well, actually 28 years as a broker, I have ran over 3 different real estate brokerages that I owned. Went into property management heavily 10 years ago when the real estate market crashed. So really started working with property owners, landlords, vendors, tenants. So I have the genre of both sides of the real estate business due to that, as well as working with agents that were agents for me. And the reason I give you that background is because of the involvement in the real estate. It drove me to want to learn more about the topic we're going to talk about today. So in the last 10 years, I really had taken a keen interest in this because I realized when I had these skills, when my agents had these skills, when I had other people surrounding me in this industry came up in their soft skills or their emotional intelligence, there was a lot less conflict and there was a lot higher productivity because we weren't getting caught in these emotional minefields with our clients, with our coworkers, and even at home. Because as being in this real estate now, the real estate career, 34 years and raising 4 kids, and I now have 2 grandchildren as well. I raised all my kids, literally. I was in the real estate business before I started a family. So I know the demands that being a real estate agent, whether male or female, puts on home life. And so having these skills, as you learn them, whether you're applying them in business or whether you're then saying that work today for the client, maybe that will work with my spouse or my significant other or my child. So these skills are synonymous not just for you in your profession, they're going to help you in life. And I think you'll see that. We're going to be fast moving with this today because literally I normally teach this in an all-day seminar, sometimes even an evening and an all-day seminar to really get all the content. I'm going to hit high level today and hopefully entice you to say, I want to learn more. Because we do have online course, and if you stick in there with us today for the next I've got my timer going, next 30 or 35 minutes, you'll have an opportunity to take the online course, which is an 8-lesson course for free, no strings attached, and I'll tell you about that at the end of our session together today. So if you guys if you ladies are ready, I will go ahead and I'll start my slideshow, and we're going to start moving through it. I'm going to try to not get stuck on any one point. I'm going to just try to whet your appetite to say, this is a topic that I need to know more if you don't already know some of the things that I'm sharing.
Awesome. Let's go.
Give me 1 second while I get to my share screen, and then we will well, give me a minute. It was there, and now it's saying I need a software update. Hold on 1 minute, ladies. Okay.
Yeah, no worries.
Let me get her started back up here.
This will give people time to grab their pen and paper because, I'm ready to take some notes.
Yes. Grab your pen and paper, grab your Java, because it is Java with Jess and Jen. So grab that, and we'll get right back over here. Now I should be able to share that screen. It was there earlier. Let's see. There it is. So I will get it going from the beginning here. There we go. Everybody see that, hopefully. So there are two courses within Relational Wisdom. We are exploring Relational Wisdom, which is what is considered their value-based or their secular. Not going to say anything other than keeping it high level within the emotional intelligence. They do have a faith-based course, and that's why I tell you about that differential. So let's see here. If you have any questions as you've gone through this, you can email me at stacy@stacymckay.com. And also, you can download the course, what we call the one sheet PDF, by going to pmuflorida.com values. And again, we're going to talk about the free online course at the end. But it's just a little sheet. We probably won't even be able to hit every single one of these points due to time limitations. But this way, you'll have a handout and a takeaway from today's workshop.
And Jess and I both have that sheet, so if anybody's watching wants to get it from us as well, you can.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Yes, so you've got that, and you can go to the website, and it's a free download. Don't have to put any information. You can just get your information. So just as I talked about in the lead-in, and having been in this industry for 34 years now, we all know this is a business. If you are in real estate or you're in any type of sales business, you're on the mortgage side, your title, whoever happens to be on this. If you work with people, we all know life is all about relationships. And as I led in earlier, it's not just about the relationships, the clients. It is all the facets, because we're dealing with so many different people in a real estate transaction that it's helpful to have these skills to better understand people. So I'll start out with just a little story. This is a little picture. It's not me, but it's a little picture of basically being showing property. So as I went into the property management field, it was a complete change from what I had did the first 20 years as a licensed real estate agent. For 20 years, I've been a broker. I had always worked buyers and sellers. I really did this and said, I don't want anything to do with property management. Had a great referral source to refer that business to. But as fate would have it, as we all know, and if you were in real estate back in 2006, 2007, 2008, the sales industry took a drastic turn. And I was brought to the point of making a decision whether or not I would do short sales, or I had a great opportunity with my very first broker I'd ever worked for to go into the property management side of the industry. And so as I would be out meeting potential tenants that were looking at property, I began to see a common thread. the majority of the tenants that were looking during that time range were looking because they had been homeowners that had now lost their home. And they would get very excited about the house. But then I would read the body language as I would see their eyes would fall, their head would fall, their countenance would change. And it was because they were embarrassed at the fact that they were in the process of losing their home and they were going to now become a renter. And a little later on, I'm going to circle back and say how I dealt with that situation, how that made me, during that time, keenly aware of emotional intelligence. Because emotional intelligence, and when we talk about soft skills, a lot of it is about reading people. It is about reading their body language. It's taking those nonverbal cues so that we can better deal with them on an emotional level. So I'll circle back to that and that story near the end to tell you how I was able to use soft skills and emotional intelligence within that setting of these tenants that were very down about the fact that they were in the process of losing their house. I'm going to leave you on the ledge on that one and we'll come back to it. So as we already said, now some of these I'm going to start trying to move through a little more quickly. So I got my little timer over here. So we definitely have the time to get through this. So relational wisdom is an operating system for life, as we already said. So what is relational wisdom? Here's your definition. Relational wisdom is the ability to discern emotions, interest, and abilities in yourself and others, to interpret this information in the light of your personal values, and to use these insights to manage your responses and relationships constructively. So just as I was talking about, just that discernment of emotions. And I believe many of you that are on here probably already have a very high emotional intelligence. Most people in this industry do. Because if we're going to succeed in this business, we need to discern where people are at on an emotional level. And we need to determine what their interest and their abilities are, how that impacts them, how it impacts us. That's the relational wisdom part. That's the add-on to emotional intelligence. It's really taking those and then weighing it out, with your personal values. Some of us may have, if you've been in the business long enough, been challenged maybe by an owner or a seller to maybe not be honest about something. And we all know disclosure issues. You don't want to do that because it puts your license at risk. That's a weighing out of your personal values. Am I going to lie to make this sale? Am I going to do something that would compromise my value system? And we'll just very lightly touch on values and how values greatly impact our engagement with emotional intelligence. So as we already said, life is all about relationships. And I'm going to just keep going, sort of go through these screens. So we need to have self-awareness, other awareness, value awareness, and it's called SOV. So we'll talk about the SOV. SOV is stronger relationships, valued influence, and inspiring examples. So we have hard skills, soft skills, and that you would think your hard skills plus your soft skills equals value to the group. Now we're going to unpack hard skills and soft skills just real quickly. Hard skills is basically your resume. What kind of education do you have? What kind of jobs have you had? What skills do you have? Technical skills within that job. And we know lots of people that have what I like to call mad hard skills. They've got really good hard skills. If you look at their resume, you say, this person is awesome. And there's lots of people like that. There's people in big corporate jobs. They have great hard skills, but they have zero soft skills, meaning they cannot deal with people on an emotional level. They can't engage in meaningful conversation. They can't get to the bottom of how somebody is feeling by asking the right questions. So hard skills plus soft skills equal value to the group. Actually, it's just the contrary. So then again, that's your technical expertise, relational abilities, is that's called social capital, your soft skills. Oops. I'm sorry, one of the slides is missing out of here. I had to take some of our video out, but if you take the online course, you'll get to see all the videos. So when you have hard skills actually times multiplication soft skills, equals the value to the group. And why we say that is if you have 0 soft skills, we all know in multiplication, the factor times 0 equals 0. So without the soft skills, and if you're a 0 with soft skills, and that's your multiplication against the hard skills, it means your hard skills really do not have value for the most part. And we've all sometimes worked with somebody, or it could have been in the work atmosphere, or worked with a client that was extremely high in their hard skills, meaning they have a Ivy League education and they're very intelligent, but they have 0 soft skills. And I know we've all dealt with somebody like that. They bring 0 value to the group. That's your multiplication. And so can we change? Can someone change that's all hard skill and no soft skill? The answer is yes. The wonderful thing about the brain and the neurons of the brain, and as it applies to emotional intelligence, is that it can change. Where your IQ, for the most part, your IQ is what your IQ is. Your intelligence is what it is. However, the emotional intelligence can change and grow from the time you begin to learn and apply these skills to the point in time that you go to the grave. And I hate to say it that way, but we can learn and grow and change, and the brain can grow and learn and change all the way through our life. And I attest to this with people I know that are older, even older than me, that begin to work on relational skills, begin to work on emotional intelligence skills, and begin to apply the things that they're learning. The change comes, their soft skills go up, and their value to the group, their value to their family, the value to society goes up. So if you either personally have had issues in the soft skill range, there's hope. You can change. If you're with somebody that needs those soft skills with proper coaching, they can change because it is all a mental aspect. So don't give in to guilt or regret. If you look at your life, you look at decisions or ways you've acted, and maybe the soft skills weren't there, because just as I said, there's hope to continue to grow. I literally was first introduced to relational wisdom, the whole relational wisdom curriculum, just 5 years ago. So within the last 5 years, I began to see how this was helping me, and it was impacting my business relationships. It was impacting my home relationships. And that's how I became a certified relational wisdom instructor. And it is a process. There's lots of reading, lots of learning that had to take place just to be allowed the right to be able to teach you this curriculum that's put out by RW360. So did I have some guilt or regret? Absolutely. I think the older that you are, when you get introduced to these topics, you see how it would have impacted my raising of my children. Because my 3 daughters, they're all adults now. And then I have a son that's 16 years old. So my children are just about out of the nest. And how many times I think if I had had these skills when my children were young. So for those of you that are on this call or are watching this that are younger, grab it with gusto, learn it and apply it. Because you don't want to be like me years later with some sense of guilt or regret. But learning these skills, we don't need to have guilt or regret. We just learn and we grow. One of the ways we can do this is learn from the wise. You know, have you ever had that mentor in your life that you just go, wow, I really see so many skills in them that I do not have? Get yourself in community with those type of people, so that in these areas that you might be lacking with the soft skills, you'll come along as you learn and as you emulate people that have those soft skills and that are wise in the area of emotional intelligence. So it's called emotional intelligence for a reason. And that's because relationships are fueled by emotions. Emotional intelligence, emotions, makes sense, right? I will have to tell you, as I go into some of the teaching on this and how emotions are built into all people, this was the part of the teaching, the first time I ever sat, and I was very blessed to get to hear Ken Sande who actually wrote the curriculum, teach this. And so I went to, actually, it was a 2-day seminar when I first went through it, because originally it was 20 lessons. So it was a lot more material, and they've sort of tweaked it down to make it more digestible for people. But I got to learn this from Ken Sande, and I sat in that relational wisdom seminar and had such an understanding on some of my clients, on family members, when I learned about this. So some of this, it may not be new to you, but I have a feeling to a lot of you it will be. And that is, well, again, emotions move us, but I'm going to sort of jump into the brain part here in just a second, because I told you I have to skip through a few to stay on target. And it's what we call amygdala hijacking. So I know every single person watching this at some point, probably multiple times, have dealt with somebody, client, coworker, somebody in the home, that you say one thing and they lose their mind. You know, Jess, Jen, ever had anybody lose their mind?
We have had that happen for sure.
I think I've probably done it a time or two.
And exactly, I've lost my mind many a time. The great thing is I learned more about what they call amygdala hijacking, and I'm going to give you a short little lesson on amygdala hijacking and how our brain operates. But when I had amygdala hijacking, once I'm able to see myself going there, I can begin. I have skills now to say, don't go there. You're allowing yourself to be hijacked emotionally, and we're going to talk about that. So there's a little part in your brain called the amygdala, and the amygdala is an emotional storehouse. It is the part of the brain that stores emotionals. It can store emotional memories. So think about turning on a radio and you hear an old song, and you can immediately, either happy or sad times might come from a song that you turn on, because it immediately tweaks that amygdala. That amygdala brings you back to, that high school prom or some happy time that song evokes a memory tied to emotion. So every time we have something come into our brain and through our senses, it has to go through the amygdala. And sometimes that information flows right through the amygdala and right to the neocortex, which is your rational thinking part of the brain, and other times it doesn't. And the difference between the flow is emotion. So the reason you can say something and somebody loses their mind, so to speak, in a figurative way, is because something hit that emotional storehouse, and it is not going on to rational thinking. And I've had people in my life that I've said, calm down, stop, and they don't. And that's because that emotion through the amygdala has been stirred within them. The hijacking is literally where it is not going to get past that point. And sometimes that person just has to go in another room. They just have to settle down, or you have to remove yourself from that person. That is amygdala hijacking. And like we said, we all I experience it. Sometimes it's called flooding as well. When you begin to flood and you cannot control the emotion. I will say now to my husband, if I know things are being said maybe between, and we've been married almost 35 years, we're high school sweethearts, we've had our ups and our downs. This has helped us immensely, because if I see myself beginning to go into an emotional amygdala response to maybe something he's saying, I say to him, flooding, I'm about to flood, meaning I'm about to go into an area that this is not going to get to a rational place in my brain. And sometimes that's sort of like saying time out. Like, don't do anything else that's going to cause that dam to break, so to speak. And so just learning that. So when I am dealing with a client and they, especially in the property management world, you have to tell the tenant something that they don't want to hear. You have to tell the owner they're about to have to put on a new roof or an air conditioning unit, and they're about to lose it. Having these skills has helped me to better understand what's going on, because then when things calm down, you're able to ask some questions, and that's soft skills. you begin to ask questions about what maybe caused them to go into this. And sometimes then they'll open up and they say, well, you're telling me I have to put on a $10,000 roof. And we just found out that my wife's ill and might have to have cancer treatment, or this is going on. And you begin to get past why this person now just had the meltdown. I mean, sometimes we're the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's also important to know that emotional intelligence can also be very manipulative. And that's why we like to put the spin of the relationship, going beyond just figuring out these emotional skills so I can manipulate or exploit people. That's not the mission, and really, that's the misuse of just emotional intelligence in and of itself. Is people can get very keen and good at the soft skills, and they can make things happen in their way and manipulate ways. And we've all probably worked with an agent at some time in negotiating a contract that can be very good and smooth, and they can manipulate things. That is not how we want the relationships to be fostered. When we learn these things about the brain, it's to learn them so that we can be more relational with them. So normally I have a really great video clip that we have from Cinderella Man. Renee Zellweger plays the wife of a boxer, which is Russell Crowe in the movie. And it's a perfect example of emotional hijacking. And so normally in a live setting, we would play that, and then we would have group discussion about the actual emotional hijacking. What do you think caused it? Things like that. So I'm going to encourage you, again, stay on until the end, because you'll have an opportunity to take the online course, and you'll be able to see all of these video clips that will help you to better have a visual of an emotional hijacking. And the thing is, when you begin to see in anybody, even yourself included, emotions going up, reasoning goes down. As that amygdala goes up, as those emotions rise, the neocortex, reasonable thinking part of the brain, begins to go down. So that's when it's important to say, what's going on in me as those emotions are beginning to go up, because it's like an invisible puppeteer. I know when I get into an emotional flooding, I get into a hijacking, my emotions are now controlling me. I am not in control of my own self. I'm not thinking rationally. So, but we can, let me see if I can move that. We can harness the power of those emotions, though. Just like I said, now I can give cues to my husband that I'm about to get pushed over the edge, if you know, just in a layman's terms. But knowing that, I can begin to harness those emotions when I feel them coming on. Had a call the other day, had a new listing I put in this weekend, and started to have an emotional hijacking on the phone call with a much younger real estate agent that was the buyer's agent. And I realized we started to get in this match about who had more experience. And from the year standpoint, I'm going to win that game. But he began to say how many sales he's had and how much he's done. And part of me wanted to one-up him, but the other part said, you know what? I'm going to praise him. And I said, you've had that many deals in that many years in the business? Kudos, that's awesome. And I began to praise, and it softened the whole conversation we had as we were trying to negotiate a contract. And that's just to give you in a layman way how you could use it in your career as you harness those emotions. Let me check my time here real quick, because
we're good.
We're doing good. Okay. So relationships are three-dimensional. I'm going to really have to start just whipping through this information. As you can see, I could teach on this all day, because I do. So I'm going to really try to be succinct. Ladies, before I go on to this next point, any questions, thoughts, comments on what you've heard so far about the brain and about the emotional storehouse that we all have? Any thoughts?
Not yet. I'm just waiting to find out what happened with those tenants.
Okay. Well, good. Well, we're good. Thank you. And if I forget, you remind me, okay? Because sometimes I get to the end and then I forget to follow up on the story. So we're gonna just real quick. There's three elements of the values, self, and others. Or what we call SOV, S-O-V. So anytime you're dealing with anything that begins to fall into an emotional intelligence category or a soft skill category, emotional category, there's three things that are going to impact. And it's self, it's others, and it's values. And we'll unpack this real quick. So we have awareness and we have what's called engagement. Aware is what do I know? Engagement is what do I do? What will I do with what I know? Because a lot of times we see something going on in somebody else's life and we're aware and we know what's going on and we just keep on walking. We do not involve ourselves in that situation. That's an awareness. We're aware that situation's going on, but we're not engaging it. We're not doing anything about that. So the development of SOV is taking it from just being aware to being engaged in whatever level, whether it's your values, whether it's the other person, whether it's self. And so I'll show here. So and you'll see on the screen above values, it says remember and faithful. So when it comes to our values, we might remember, yeah, I believe that you shouldn't lie. I believe you should be the golden rule, treat others as the way you would want to be treated. We all have a value system, and we can remember our values, but the engaging part is when we're faithful to what our values are. And so that's that difference between taking it from awareness to an engagement. And then the same way, we've got the same words here, self-awareness. We're humble with how we are, but when we're engaged, we're disciplined, meaning I remember these skills. I am going to be disciplined in employing these skills, these soft skills that I've learned. And then when it comes to the other person and just an awareness, we can be compassionate. We say, oh, that's too bad that homeless person's laying there. They're hungry. The engagement is when we do something about it. We go and we help that person. We give them food. We do something. That's the serving part. That's the engagement part of helping the other person. And then there's just, as you go around the wheel, sometimes we forget, sometimes we're fickle, sometimes we're proud, the opposite of humble, sometimes we're indulgent. We're not disciplined in the things that we've learned. Sometimes we're insensitive. If we're not being compassionate, we're insensitive. And sometimes we're serving, and sometimes the serving is coming out of the manipulation as to what will I gain. So there's always a flip side to everything that's good. So we need to be careful as we're learning that we're keeping them in the sphere of helpfulness, or the sphere of making a difference, if that makes sense. So a key to staying inside that circle is to develop and follow a trustworthy value system. And this, we're really, because time-wise, we're really going to be able to get in and unpack values. Maybe Jess and Jen will have me back on sometime and we can unpack those, or again, take the online course, and it really will have videos and all kinds of things to help you as you build your value system. How can I bring value? And again, I already sort of went through these as I went through through that last diagram, is the value awareness and value engagement. Same thing, self-awareness, humility, self-engagement, the other awareness, other engagement. So I've already sort of unpacked those for you. And for a sense of time, I'm going to just sort of whip on through those slides at this very time. And again, the emotional intelligence and EQ is a competence. There's personal competence, that's the self part. Then there's the social competence, which is the other part. And this is all right in many of the books out there about emotional intelligence. There's some great ones. Emotional Intelligence 2.0 is a great little read. And the best part about that book is it actually has an opportunity for you to take a testing and see where you're at in your emotional intelligence, and then go back about a year later after you've worked on skills, take that test again and see how you've come up in social awareness and relationship management. I think you'll be amazed, especially if you really do work at it, so that you're no longer that puppeteer controlled by emotions. And again, we've got the Going Beyond Emotional Intelligence. So what I'm going to, I'll go ahead and share about the issue with the tenants. And when I would keenly be aware of what was going on with them as I watched the verbal cues. They were excited about the house, but then when we were going to start talking about the application process and how they could rent this house, their countenance, as I told you, would fall. And I would see it was almost an embarrassment. And I would say, so what's going on? You seemed really excited, and now I'm seeing a concern. And they would say, well, we're in the process of going through a foreclosure. And so I would hit some of the points. Are you still employed? Are you in an open bankruptcy? How has it affected your overall credit? Things like that. We would begin to unpack that. But I say we rent all day long to people that can qualify even with having a foreclosure. But then this is where I would engage, because I could have left it at that and encouraged them, go ahead and apply. We want you as a tenant. We would love you as a tenant. But the engagement part is I would become real with them, and I would become vulnerable, and I would be humble, because I would tell them, I've been in real estate for over 20 years, and I had a very thriving real estate company. I had 15 top agents, but I too just lost my house because the real estate industry, everything I did was in sales. And I started, unfortunately, leveraging against my house, trying to keep my business together. And because of that, the market fell down, and I had leveraged against my house, and I lost my house, and I lost my business. And that engagement, their countenance would actually start to come back up, because they would think to themselves, she's not going to look down on me. She's like me.
Mm-hmm.
That empathy. So any of these areas where and there's telling me that my time's about up, is when we have the empathy and we use it to engage another person in what they're going in. Now, sometimes we don't want to fake empathy. If we haven't gone through that, I would have not been able to engage that. But I began to see how that impacted these people, and they would gladly fill out. And they were some of our best tenants. Many of them stayed in until they got up to a point that they could buy a house again. And about that point, my owners' values in their homes had come up. So about 2015, it took 6-7 years for some of these to leverage out, where then my owners could sell the homes, because I could talk to the owners as well and have an understanding to say, let me help you not lose your house like what happened to me. If I could have gotten my house rented out more timely, I wouldn't have lost my house. So you can take those experiences and those situations that you've been put in, good, bad, or indifferent, and you can use that to engage others and to encourage others. And do you think that my social capital went up in those situations? Absolutely. Absolutely, it did. So as you know,
I have a question on that, Stacy, if you don't mind. Yeah. So let's say you it's the opposite, and you can't relate. You don't have something that personally happened that's similar, and you have a client who's down and sad, but
yes,
you don't want to lie and pretend you went through it. Yes. How do you recommend somebody find that empathy in them to make that connection in that relationship?
Perfect question. Because what you're going to do is especially in an industry, you begin to see things over and over again. It's different stories, but you begin to see similar things. You begin to develop questions. You begin to develop things where you say, I haven't experienced that exact thing, and I'm really sorry to hear that happened to you. Would you feel comfortable telling me a little bit more about that? Because I would really love to have a better understanding of how somebody feels that has lost their house, or what caused that. And you can come up with scripting. Now, this is the great thing, is if you, and I'm going to take the course because it's going to be free, is they have all kinds of blog posts. They have various things that you can download, questions to ask to build social connection with another person, Just those simple little things that you can begin to have in there. And I guarantee you it's going to help you in your career, because when you're sitting with a seller or a buyer or somebody and you begin to connect with them on a relational level, an emotional level, I mean, think about it in your life. When somebody has began to ask you, how did that make you feel? And they've taken concern to really listen to you, you instantly are drawn to that person. You go, I like that person, you know?
Mhm.
So I think as you go through the course and unpack it more, you gain those skills for the areas that you don't know how to respond. You're going to learn. And that every time you learn a new skill, your emotional intelligence level is going up. If that helps. I'm not even going to be able to get into the items on values. But values are extremely important, because the values are what make you you. To say yes to something or no to something, or I will do that or I won't do that, that is all based on your values. And if you don't have a good value system, like this is my non-negotiables, this is how I operate in life, begin to think about that. And it doesn't even have to be on the business level. Think about it just in your home relationships, to say, this is how I choose to play out my value system. And values come from many different places, and that's what we get into, is that the values are similar across cultures, but they come from our worldview, and they guide our behavior. And we're seeing this played out, and I do not want to get at all into any kind of political genre, but we are in an atmosphere right now where everyone has a different viewpoint. And a lot of times it doesn't mean they're wrong and you're right, or vice versa. It means I might be seeing the world through purple glasses and somebody else might be seeing them through yellow glasses, because that's how I view the world, or that is how my values are played out. So that just is a little teaser for you in terms of the values, to again, log on and take the online course. So I'm going to just pop through a few different things here. This was just all the stuff on values, and maybe I can come back and do something just on values someday to give a little more training on that and how that ties to the emotional intelligence. I wanted to jump to the end here because I know we're just right at almost at our time, and I told you it goes so fast. And thank you, ladies. So we said there are 2 online courses that can be taken: the Exploring Relational Wisdom, which is it's a secular, value-based, and then there is a faith-based course. So when you go in there and you choose, if you are a person of faith and you want to take something more on a faith-based level, you are able to do that. Right now, and this isn't through me, this is actually through the organization RW360. They have been offering their online course for free. They did a couple of extensions. Originally it was through the end of April, and they had such an overwhelming response, not just in the nation but worldwide, that they extended it through the end of May, and then they just most recently extended it through the end of June. But from what I've heard, after June the 14th, it's not free. Normally the course is $49. What I would encourage you to do, even if you don't have time to take it right now, go to the pmuflorida.com website, and right on the front it says in red, take the course. That will send me an email, and then I will send you all the instructions to get the course for free. And then you can log on, get your login. You can take it at your pace. It's 8 weeks. It's 8 lessons. And I have some people go through it very quick, and other people might take a year. So it just really depends on how you want to learn and how much you want to dig in on each of the lessons. But if you at least get your login, you can take that anytime, coming up here in the next year or so, to be able to log into that course. After the 4th of July, I do a free Zoom group. It's a 9-week where anybody that wants to get on and discuss from 7:30 to 8:30. So I'll send information in that email as well. And if you have an interest in maybe being part of a Zoom group and having more one-on-one time with me, or usually we'll have about 10 people on those calls, so it's pretty intimate. We can go through the material each week, and then we just get on, we have discussions, and it's great when it's a bunch of people in the same profession, because we can really, dig in how different things are impacting us in our profession as well. So that would be my encouragement. Go to the pmuflorida.com website, click on that, and as you have a chance to watch this, and we'll get that code to you. And you can also download the app, and I think that's going to be the end of mine. Those are free. There's no charge for the bonus resources, and they have various blog posts and various videos and everything that you can watch on there that apply to emotional intelligence. Okay, so I am going to stop my screen share so I can go back and see that these lovely ladies. I think that is, let's see if it gets me back to you.
Yep, you're here. You're good. So I have a question. What are people that have been watching and kind of are probably wondering, am I emotionally intelligent? So what are some signs of somebody who might have a high emotional intelligence?
It is really all the time what you would call a soft skill. And the soft skills are empathy, understanding, listening skills, being able to have a conversation, being able to walk into a room of people they don't know and begin to engage and not sit in the corner, So, and I know we have realtors that are introverts as well, and they go to a networking group and they're like just over in the corner having their little drink. The emotionally intelligent person is the person that recognizes, I see somebody over there and they're not engaging. So the emotionally intelligent person goes and engages that other person. It's the person that is aware of their, just like I said, watching for verbal cues. It's being able to say, I'm seeing something beyond just the surface. And it is a learned thing. I think part of it does come with age, but I know people that get more old and crusty the older they get, and they don't care what anybody else thinks. And sometimes I even can go towards that. When I turned 52, I have a motto every year, and my motto that year was a little bit selfish because I'm like, I'm 52 and I ain't gonna do what I don't want to do. Okay, so not necessarily emotionally intelligent. But I think as you get older, also you realize, man, I spent a lot of my life people pleasing and doing things that I maybe didn't want to do, and I want to be in my lane and I want to do what I want to do. So it does still come from a self-preservation purpose as well. So hopefully that answers your question. And I promise you, as you go through that course, you will totally learn more about soft skills. And the list of soft skills are all within that curriculum. I mean, there's probably a list of 50 different items that are considered a soft skill.
Stacey, I have a quick question. So for those of us that have, we don't go through our life or professional life without having conflict, right? So when we have a conflict and we know that we're going to quote unquote flood, right? We feel the emotions coming. Yeah. We're getting red. My ears get hot when I, get into that situation. So tell us is there something we can do to take a second?
Yes.
Tell us a tip.
Okay. 6-second rule. Okay. 6 seconds. You need 6 seconds for the information to get past the amygdala to the neocortex. One of the simplest tips that we give, and it's taught in the full course, is taking a bottle of water, taking a drink, taking something in. If you know you're going into a potentially difficult conversation with someone that could become explosive, could be conflict ridden, is that you take and you undo that little water bottle, because that takes a minute of time. You take a drink of that water. One, it does keep you from being able to talk unless you want to spit the water out, but that's not the purpose. The purpose is to give time as you take that drink, the water goes down. That gives you about 6 seconds to potentially have that information or have that flow through to a rational part of your brain. That doesn't work always. And sometimes we get hit off guard too by someone, and so that may not happen. But anytime you're going into a conflicting situation where there could be something said that you cannot take back once you've said it. We've had people lose jobs because they said something back to the boss. So that 6-second rule, that is a real simple thing. And I will tell you, the Ken Sande, who wrote this curriculum, he ran Peacemaker Ministry for 30 years. He is an attorney by trade. And he has dealt with literally thousands of mediations and conciliations and conflict coaching, not just through himself, but through the organization. He wrote the book, The Peacemaker. The whole reason he wrote this after 30 years after leaving conflict-ridden, peacemaking, mediation situations, is that he said if people learn the skills that I shared with you today, and especially go take the course and get them even further, they wouldn't get into conflict to start.
Mm.
He saw it over and over and over again. He said if they had the soft skills, if they had the emotional intelligence, if they had the ability to listen and digest what somebody else was saying, a lot of these conflicts would not start. And so I appreciate you bringing that up, because we did, Leanne saying this is about conflict, but essentially this is the tool to curb conflict in our life as we learn it. Doesn't mean it's going to insulate you, because we deal with other people and we cannot control the other people. The only thing we can control is ourselves and our own responses on how we deal with that with the other person.
That's great.
Yeah, so that's one little tip. But you get a lot more. Hopefully, I'm trying to get CE credits for realtors with this, and hopefully by the fall, but it'll be in a live teaching. So maybe sometime we can work something out. If I can get the CE credits, I'll come down to the Tampa area. I teach a lot at Pro, a Pinellas Realtor organization, and it can come down there and be able to teach this live and get to meet you all in person.
I think that would be awesome, because I know
Absolutely.
to learn more and know how to handle conflict and develop a little more empathy.
Yeah. And I will tell you, the group setting is fabulous, because we watch the videos and then we break down into groups and we have group discussion, and then we come back. Typically, just in the full day, there'll be at least a dozen from popular movie clips, which are really fun, because it's all, actors and actresses we've seen and we know. And then you see something played out regarding emotional intelligence. It's pretty cool. So
awesome. Thank you so much, Stacy. This was a great workshop.
Thank you. And I'm sorry to all of you. I had to go through it so quick, but hopefully I've whet your appetite. Please consider taking the course. And again, starting in July, I would love to have you on the Exploring Relational Wisdom Zoom group, Tuesday night, 7:30 to 8:30, and I can send you information on that. And get to know you better and actually see some of the other spaces that take the course.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll be seeing you again.
Yeah.
This was awesome. So we greatly appreciate you being here with us today.
Thank you. And I'm so glad to see young, sweet ladies like you learning this much sooner than I did, because you have a much greater impact on the world having these skills.
Yeah. Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you, Stacy. Have a fabulous weekend.
You as well.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow.
Yeah, I definitely learned a little bit. I know I need to get more in tune with my emotional intelligence side, so I'm definitely gonna look more into this and develop that empathy and now know how to relate better.
You know what I got from this, just for me personally, is I think that in my business and personal life as a whole, if we just get those soft skills and learn how to just take that 6 seconds, especially me, because I'm an emotional being for sure. I cry at Publix commercials like it's crazy. So I definitely need to just stop and think, because I think about all of the business decisions and personal decisions, just making sure that you can make a little bit better decisions, by taking the time to think instead of acting on those emotions. So I learned a lot. It was great.
Yeah, I like the 6 second rule. I'm probably gonna
I've got my bottle of water.
Yeah.
Just in case. But yeah, that was awesome, Jen.
I had fun.
Yes, I had fun too. I'm ready to go through my weekend with no conflicts.
Right? Let's see. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed this week's episode and learned a little bit more on emotional intelligence. Our email addresses are on the screen. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns for us, please feel free to email either one of us.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.